Hello, my name is Tom. I'll be your Ielts interviewer today. Could you tell me your full name, please?
Sure. My full name is Serena Camposano.
Okay, can I get your identification, please?
Sure.
Okay, thank you so much. Just need to check. All right, so our interview today will have three parts. And our first part today, I'll ask you some questions. Try to answer as best as you can. We're going to talk about TV and books. Do you like watching TV?
Yeah, I do. I used to watch TV more when I was young, but I still do. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. How often do you watch TV?
Uh, I mean, now that I'm a student, I don't have a lot of time, so I would say twice a week. So
Okay.
not that often.
All right. And when you watch TV, what kind of TV programs do you like to watch?
Since I get very stressed because of my student life, I try to watch just comedy show. I don't like watching dramatic TV show or anything too serious. So kind of like, for example, Mother Family, Friends, those kind of TV show are the best for me.
Okay. And what are the most popular TV shows in your country?
Oh, actually, in Italy, we don't have a lot of TV show itself. Like we have a lot of like we would say like telenovelas, kind of like that. But I think there is one that could be similar to Friends that is called Camera Café, but it's old. So yeah, I mean it's kind of a tricky question because Italian do not watch a lot of TV show. They like drama. Yeah, so
Okay. And has the internet affected your viewing habits?
yeah, for sure. I do watch a lot of TV show or like internet show on YouTube way more often because of course it's easier and you can watch it everywhere. So I would say yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you for answering those questions. Now, we're going to talk about books. How often do you read?
These days, when it comes to study, I do read a lot because my major is international relations. So we have to read articles basically every day. So I would say sometime I would read 100 pages a week, but books just for me during my leisure time, not that often anymore. So I would say maybe one book in 4 months. So not that often.
Okay. And do you have many books at home?
Oh, not really, because I do use ebooks more often. It's way easier. So no,
Okay. And do you prefer to buy books or borrow them?
borrow for sure. I am an eco-friendly person, so if I have the chance to borrow some books or go to a secondhand bookstore, I would do. So,
Okay. And what are the benefits of reading?
of course, there are a lot of benefit. But yeah, for me, for example, I tend to read things that I do enjoy the most. So things related to my major. What I found when I talk with my friends that do not like reading is because they read something they do not like. But of course, there are a lot of benefit. You get to know more about the world. You get to know more about yourself, and you question more yourself, or even you use more your imagination. So there are a lot of benefit.
Okay, thank you so much for answering all my questions. Now we'll move on to the second part of our interview. I'll ask you to read this test card, and you'll have 1 minute to prepare an answer for this task. You should prepare to speak about it for 1 to 2 minutes. Okay, if you're ready, could you begin speaking about it?
Yes, so my topic was to talk about a company that I do know. And the first one that came to my mind was Samsung, because we are here in Korea. And for sure, it's one of the largest company in the world. So everyone knows about it. And um, what I found it successful about Samsung, and I actually studied about it when I was young. It was one of my theses when I was in high school, and it was very fascinating to get to know how and how it got successful. Because if I'm not wrong, the CEO in the beginning was selling rice cakes, and it got so he was very determined to succeed. So I always find it very, very fascinating. And however, when it comes to the working environment, I have a lot of friends that work for Samsung, and it's very competitive. And I mean, this is probably my personal opinion, but I do think it's not one of the best working environment. It's very hard. It's tough. You have to work for a lot of hours, and even just to get in, I know that the selection, they have like 4 interview. So I do not know if I would work there, but for sure it's a very successful company. And what I would say is like different from any other company when it comes to Samsung is that they sell everything. Like you can go to a Samsung store and just to buy a TV or of course a phone, and you can also buy a fridge or I don't know, like an air conditioner. So it's something that I always find so unique and something that is very different from most of other competitors when it comes to companies and organizations.
Great. Thank you for answering all those questions. Now, what kind of company would you like to work for?
Since I'm majoring in international relationship, I want to work for an international organization, like maybe the UN or Amnesty or anything related to climate change or North Korea. So that's probably what I would love to work in if I have the chance.
Okay, thank you so much for answering those questions to that part, and I thought you did really well. And today, for our last part of our interview, I'll ask you some extra questions. I'm trying to have I'll ask you a question, maybe I'll have a follow-up question to what you say, okay? And let's start. Are there many big companies in your country?
We do have a lot of big company, but they're mostly related to food because Italy is famous for food. So, for example, Barilla is the one that comes to my mind, or Nespresso, because Italians are very, I would say, snob about food. Unfortunately, that's the stereotype, but it's true. So we do care so much about our food brand, and everything has to be perfect. And for example, my hometown is Parma, so it's famous for parmesan and for pasta. So people do care so much about it, and the working environment is so selective, but it's also like engaging. That's also what I love about Italian food company, because I don't see it here or in other countries, for example. So
Definitely, there are some major food companies in Italy. What about car companies? Italy is also famous for the really nice sports cars, like supercars, like a Ferrari and Lamborghini. What about those companies? Are there also like family, like owned?
those, of course, those companies are successful. But I would say that's what a lot of my friends ask me, because everyone think that Italian do own a Ferrari, but it's not actually an Italian thing. I think it's just something that just rich people can afford. So I do not think it's like a family kind of environment when it comes to Ferrari. It's a luxury one. So mostly Italian tradition are like all based on simple things, simple food. So I do not think that Ferrari or those kind of company actually represent Italian tradition or Italian people. But of course, they're very successful and they're very detail oriented. And yeah, I mean, the cars are nice.
Yeah, they are definitely. Now let's talk about talk about like family companies, small companies, big companies. What is the difference between big companies and small companies in your opinion?
In Italy or like in general?
In general.
I would say large company. This is also like a personal opinion, but most of the time, large company do get money mostly by exploiting people. So like it's, I do think they, of course, maybe sell different type and a variety of items, and they have maybe different. They work in different cities, so of course, compared to like small companies where there are just few employees and of course maybe you get paid less and it's not as competitive and the working environment maybe it's not as pressuring, but like the competition as we see nowadays, it's unbearable for little or small companies. So that's a huge gap in my opinion.
Definitely. Have you ever worked for like a small or big company?
Not yet. But I do have a lot of friends and all my family that work for like small companies and they struggle every day. In Italy, it's a huge problem. And I think here too and everywhere. So, for example, what I see here is that people try so hard to get into a large company because it's safer. You can afford your life here, and life nowadays is getting very expensive. So, of course, working for a small company is not um, as good as it was before when you just needed a job during like my parents' generations.
Okay, very good. And then you mentioned before you want to work for like an international organization. Why do some people like you choose to work at an international company or international organization?
That's what I ask myself a lot too. I think most of people that choose my major, they choose it because they want to change something. At least we believe we want to change how the things work, and we want also to raise awareness. Like what I try to do by studying and by talking with my friends is always like to try to make people understand how things actually are and how many stereotypes we do have in terms of our like politics and our environment and everything related. Like, for example, nowadays even related to health and like the vaccine and everything. So I do believe that reading and studying and mostly discussing with people helps, and that's why most of people choose to work for international organization because it kind of feel like you're actually changing people's minds and you make them believe that something can change and we can do it together. So
Yeah, that definitely sounds like a great reason to join an international organization. Okay, thank you so much for answering all of my questions. I thought you did really well, and I hope you have a great day.
thank you.
Okay, I'm just going to ask you some post-test questions, overall feelings and opinions about the test. What were your overall feelings about today's test?
I felt very comfortable, so I wasn't nervous. So it wasn't too bad.
Okay, very good. And what part did you find most difficult?
Uh, for sure, part two, because I mean, you have to organize your thoughts, and I do know something about Samsung, but I was like, am I saying this right or not? So you kind of doubt yourself a lot.
Mm-hmm. And which part did you find the easiest?
The last part, because it do feel like a normal conversation, and I don't feel like I need to say specific things. I just have to talk about my opinions and what I know about the specific topic. So it's more relaxing.
That's great. Okay. And did you think the question topics suited you?
Yeah, they weren't too bad. So of course, like I don't think there is such a thing as a topic that suit me specifically, but those were fine.
Okay, great. And overall, what do you think your score would be today?
I hope at least more than 6, but I will be fine with everything.
Okay, thank you so much for answering all my questions. I hope you have a great day.
Thank you.